Hello friends, I am Sandeep Kumar Jha, teacher of IIT for past 21 years. In year 2000, I have joined a renowned coaching institute of Delhi, and since then I have been guiding the students for 21 years. In between, I have been in Kota also, a renowned coaching institute of Kota, and for 4 years I have been there. So again I moved back to Delhi NCR, and I have been teaching in Delhi NCR for 10 years again. So for past 21 years I have been teaching students for IIT, and frankly enough in this interaction I have learned a lot, many things about the physics, which are only possible with interaction of very good and intelligent students. So when we talk of IIT teaching, and in fact IIT physics, it has to do a clear-cut understanding of the fundamental of the subject. Rather than knowing too many things, in fact, we have to focus on the basics, and while applying the basics, we have to be very particular about the mathematical aspect of the subject when applying the physics. And another thing is there, we have to be very alert about things, and the definition should be very clear-cut. Rather than memorizing the things, we should be very much focused on the limitation of the words. When we say something, we will see that if we understand the things particularly and very particular way, we can apply it in very difficult situations also. But if we are not very clear about the understanding of the basics, a little bit of different situation, and we are just paused and we cannot move ahead. So wherever we are doing something, rather than knowing too much, we have to be very particular about the boundary of the understanding. That is very important. So here we will be focusing on one of the aspects of 12th physics for IIT, and in fact we are just going to interact for a few hours, so it won't be possible to take too many things. So we are taking here one of the aspects of the 12th physics, that is electrostatics, and in electrostatics particular, because overall electrostatics say I think is around 16-18 hours job. So here I am going to take up a class on in electrostatics. So I am just focusing on a particular aspect of electrostatics, that is Gauss law. What is Gauss law and what is its importance? Because when we go for the Gauss law, before Gauss law, students normally study Coulomb's law. What is the Coulomb's law? Coulomb's law is to calculate electric field due to point charge, and then using the integration, we are able to get the electric field due to various shaped bodies, and consequently we are able to get the potential and apply energy concepts. In Gauss law, also we are going to get the same result, but Gauss law is more fundamental than Coulomb's law, because there are two ways in which electric fields are produced. One is by the charge, and another is by the variation of the magnetic field. When there is variation of magnetic field, and electric field is created, it is called induced electric field. Gauss law, as I said, is more fundamental because Gauss law is applicable in both the cases, where the electric field is produced by charged particle or the electric field produced by varying magnetic field. In both cases, Gauss law is applicable. However, the Coulomb's law fails there. In fact, Coulomb's law only gives electric field due to point charge. But Gauss law is applicable for both the conditions, whether the electric field is by the point charge or whether the electric field is by the varying magnetic field, that is induced electric field. But one thing is very clear here, that when we apply the Gauss law, that is applicable even in that case where the magnetic field is very varied. But we can get electric field using Gauss law only in cases of symmetry. And the calculation of electric field using the Gauss law in various cases, we shall discuss in the next class. Today actually I am focusing on one of the aspects of the Gauss law, that is how to calculate the flux due to charge or charges due to Gauss law. So I am focusing on the Gauss law, one aspect of the Gauss law today, that is calculation of flux through different type of bodies, and what is the popular approaches, and what are the points about which we have to be very particular while understanding the Gauss law. Before moving to that, slightly I will discuss about the Gauss law. What is the Gauss law? Gauss law is the electric flux through a closed surface is equal to charge enclosed upon epsilon. That is, if I am considering any closed surface, so let it be an imaginary closed surface. We can have a sphere, we can have a cylinder, we can have a closed cone, anything, any surface that is closed. So to make it more general, I am just taking an arbitrary surface and I am considering this surface, and we are calculating the flux through it. What is the meaning of flux? You know, for a small area element, flux is given as E dot ds. So what I am doing here, I am considering a small area element. Area element is small part of an area, and here the direction of area element is always along normal to the surface, and in case of closed surface, conventionally it is outward normal. For example, here if I am taking a small area and magnitude of the area is say ds, then the direction vector is this. So if I write the ds as a vector, I will write ds vector is ds theta. So this is the area vector attached with this element, and then if you talk of flux for this small element, so it's going to be E dot ds. E, let the field here is E, like this, and this angle is theta. So d phi, that is flux on an element, we usually represent by d phi because we usually take flux by phi. So d phi, that is E dot ds, is going to be E into ds into cos theta. So for an area element, this is the way in which we calculate flux. D phi into E dot ds, that is E into ds into cos theta. And if you take for the whole surface area, it's going to be phi. So what is phi? Phi is integral of this quantity for the whole surface. So it's going to be like this, E dot ds, integral of ds. So I can say here, it's going to be E ds cos theta and integrated over the whole surface. So it's a mathematical job, but in certain cases, it will give a very easy result, and that we shall discuss and we shall visualize while calculating the field. But here the meaning of the Gauss law is, the Gauss law means if you calculate the electric flux through a closed surface, that is equal to charge enclosed upon epsilon naught. So we have just learned how to calculate flux, and now I am going to Gauss law. Gauss law says net flux over the closed surface is equal to charge enclosed upon epsilon naught. So this is the different way in which I am writing the flux. So it has to be equal to what? Q enclosed upon epsilon naught. So this is Gauss law. So ultimately, what is Gauss law? Flux through a closed surface is equal to charge enclosed upon epsilon naught. Now how to calculate the flux? This is the way in which we calculate the flux. So this is the Gauss law, and today I am concentrating on one of the aspects of the Gauss law, that is calculation of flux due to a point charge through different surfaces. So that is the basic objective with which we are going to work. So it is Gauss law, and I will be moving with this. Now here only if I want to talk about. So here charge enclosed, I will represent what is the meaning of charge enclosed. For example, if I am taking the point charge is here, we charge Q1, and here it is charge minus Q2, and then here it is charge Q3. So with this, can you tell me what should be my result? So what is the charge enclosed here? You can see, in fact, 3 point charges I have mentioned in the region. 2 are inside this surface and 1 is outside. Inside surfaces are what? The charge inside surface is Q1 and minus Q2, and the outside charge is what? Q3. So here I will talk of Q enclosed. So Q enclosed here will be Q1 minus Q2. Q3 we don't have to consider. Why? Because Q3 is outside this closed surface. So Q enclosed means charge enclosed inside the boundary of the closed surface. So here if I ask you what is the flux, my answer is phi is equal to Q1. It has to be algebraically summed. And if the charge is positive, it has to be just added. And if the charge is negative, it has to be subtracted. So Q1 minus Q2 upon epsilon. Obviously, if Q2 has greater magnitude than Q1, it may be negative also. So flux can be both positive and negative. There is another aspect of the Gauss law that is very relevant here. Sometimes we are asked question about it. Do Q3 have a role in the field at different point on the surface? Yes. If you take Q3 produce the electric field, and those electric field lines are crossing this, coming here and going there. So we can say the Q3 has the role in electric field over the surface, but not over the net flux. Because if you take an element, maybe there is flux due to Q3 on that element. But when we take the total surface, the electric field created by Q3, electric lines created by Q3, will be entering also and going out. So net flux contribution on this closed surface of Q3 is 0. So when we are asked net electric flux to a closed surface, we have to only consider the charges that are placed inside. And if you are asked, do outside point charges have any role on the in the electric field on the surface? Yes, my answer is yes. But in net flux it is zero. Why? Because the field lines that enters goes out also. So when we calculate the electric field at different points, outside charges may have the role. But when we calculate the net flux, the outside point do not have any role in calculating the flux. So this is how the Gauss law will be like. So it is Gauss law. Okay. Now I am moving ahead with calculation of flux through different surfaces. So as we said here, in fact, one of the aspects of flux of point charge is solid angle. You know, every surface in 3 dimensions creates an angle at a point, and that angle is called solid angle. So if you take a sphere, the solid angle created by that sphere at inside point is 4 pi steradian. So in surrounding of a point, the region is symmetrically distributed, then its total angle, solid angle formed by the closed surface around the charge is 4 pi steradian. So we can use that also to calculate flux. For example, whatever the field lines are emerging from the point charge, actually when the field lines are emerging from a point charge, they are symmetrically distributed, spherically symmetrically distributed. So we can say the flux any surface that is making, so total, if you take a sphere here, total angle made by this sphere on this point charge is 4 pi steradian. So and the total flux is what? Suppose this is the point charge Q, and the total flux to this sphere is what? Q by epsilon. So what is the flux per unit solid angle? The total solid angle formed by this sphere on this point charge is 4 pi. So what is the flux per unit solid angle in the surrounding of the point charge? If I ask you the flux per unit solid angle, it is going to be Q by epsilon into 1 by 4 pi. Why? Because total flux is pi. Q by epsilon. So per unit solid angle, it is going to be this. So I can write it pi by omega, and pi per unit solid angle. So there is another aspect of calculation of flux. You can calculate the solid angle subtended by a surface at a point. We can simply say the flux is going to be what? This is the flux per unit solid angle. So if a surface is making solid angle omega about a point charge, the formula of flux is going to be what? This pi equal to what? Q by epsilon omega by 4 pi. Here I am getting some examples here to calculate this aspect of calculation of flux. So if I have to calculate the electric flux through a surface, and if that surface is making solid angle omega on that position of point charge, flux through that surface, I will say U by epsilon omega by 4 pi. So I am going to take up an example here. For example, if I take a cone, say there is a cone. The cone has got the base radius r, and say height of the cone is 2r, and at point r over the, at a point r over the height, at distance r from center of base, I am placing a point charge. So I am asking you, this is a hollow cone, and at distance r from the center of base along normal, I am placing a point charge. My question is, what is the flux through this curved surface? Flux through the curved surface of the cone. So we have a slant surface of the cone. Through the slant surface of the cone, through the slant surface of the cone, we are expected to calculate the electric flux. So how to calculate the electric flux? Here you will see how I am going to use this understanding to calculate the flux. You know, the base radius of this cone is also r, and height is 2r. The base radius of this cone is also r, that is given to us. The base radius of the cone is r. So what I will do here, I can say the base is a circular region of radius r, okay, and Q is the point that is placed on the axis of this circular region. Okay. So if any point is lying on the axis of a circular region, the formula of flux is, formula of solid angle, formed by a circular region at a point on the axis is given by 2 pi 1 minus cos theta. Here theta is the angle made by the line joining that point to circumference of the circular region with the axis. So if I join this line, this is the line joining circumference to this circular region from that point where the charge is placed. So we want to calculate the solid angle due to this circular region at this point. So what is this angle here? Can you see this distance is r, this is also r. So we can say it is going to be r, this angle triangle here. This angle is going to be 90 degree. So this is r and this is also r. So this angle is going to be 45 degree, right? Tan theta is equal to 1, so that is 45. So the formula is this 2 pi 1 minus cos theta. We can say 45 or pi, whatever we say. Popular unit is degree and the SI unit is radian. If you talk of radian, then it is pi by 4. And if we talk of degree, it is 45. So here I can take both the values. If I take 45 to cos 45, you know cos 45 is going to be 1 minus cos 45 is going to be 1 by 2. So we are getting 2 pi 1 minus cos theta. So this is going to be 1 minus 1 by 2. So this is the solid angle formed by this circular region on this point. Okay. So if I ask you, let the point flux due to this point charge through this circular region is phi 1, and through the base of the cone, the circular base of the cone, the electric flux is phi 1. So I am using this formula, and phi 1 we are getting what? Phi 1 is equal to q by epsilon. Omega is this, so it's cancel out. So 1 by 2, 1 minus 1 by 2. I am actually using this formula, so you can see omega value I am putting it. So we are getting this. So this is the flux through this circular region due to this point charge. So this is the answer. If I am taking point charge, here I have put small q and here capital Q. So if capital Q is here, I must put here the capital Q. Whatever the charge is there, the point charge value I am going to take. So we are getting this. Now we are asked about the flux through the curved surface, yani the slant surface of the cone. Okay. Let the flux through slant surface, curved surface of the cone be phi 2. So what is the total flux through the cone? Total flux, if I say that this cone is going to be closed surface and the charge Q is placed inside. So if I ask what is total flux, so by Gauss law we know the total flux is what? Q equals by epsilon. So the total flux phi net is going to be phi 1 plus phi 2. That is going to be charge enclosed by epsilon. So charge enclosed here is what? Q. So charge enclosed by epsilon, and I am placing now the value of phi 1. So I can calculate phi 2. So this can be done sometimes. If we have the two surfaces, I know the total flux, I know the flux through one surface, so I can calculate the flux through other surface. So here I can calculate the flux through curved surface, slant surface of the cone. So I am getting phi 2, this was my purpose. So phi 2 is going to be q by epsilon minus phi 1, and phi 1 given value of phi 1 I will place here. So effectively what I will get here is, so this is going to be, so I will place here and I will get the total result. So the net flux through the curved surface is what? So we are getting q by epsilon, I am taking it common, and then 1 is going to be 1 by 2 plus 1 by 2. So this is the flux through the curved surface of the cone. So this is the value. So this is one of the important aspects. If you have to calculate the electric flux through a surface, and if you can calculate the solid angle, then this formula I can use. So this is one of the aspects of the calculation of flux that we have learned. And now we will move to another aspect. In fact, we see that from point charge, any point charge, the electric lines are emerging symmetrically. Symmetrically means at the point of emergence they are symmetrically distributed in your direction. So they are actually distributed on a sphere, and total it is distributed in 4 pi angle. So per unit solid angle we can talk. So this is one of the aspects. If I am asked about electric flux due to point charge through any surface, we can also think in terms of the solid angle. and it is going to be very useful, and it is going to be give you some other way of thinking. And in fact, in calculation of flux through a surface, symmetry along with this result is going to play the marvelous role. And symmetry is basically the application of logic and the visualization around us. So questions can be easier, questions can be different. So various type of questions can be there. So we are gradually moving ahead with it, and we are going to discuss the calculation of flux through different ways. So I am moving with a question here, and that is a very easy question, but anyway, I will start with that. Okay. So if I am having any closed surface, and any closed surface, say for example, let me take any closed surface, and say let it be sphere only. Okay. I am taking a sphere, and I have placed a point charge Q at its surface. First of all, I will try to understand what do I mean here from this. When I say point charge Q is placed at its surface, it exactly means that if we consider the charge as a small sphere, the center of the sphere lies at this surface. So, surface I am considering a very thin surface, but its width is negligible. And the point charge I am placing, the point charge by definition has to be thin, but has to be like a particle. But anyway, I am considering this particle as a sphere. So center of that sphere is lying at the surface. So this is the conventional meaning of a point charge at a surface. Whenever say a point charge is placed at a surface, it means what? Center of that sphere lies, that small sphere lies at the surface. So obviously, half of this sphere is inside and half of the sphere is outside. So if half the sphere is inside, if I am asking you, what is the flux through this sphere? So you know, what is the charge inside? So conventionally, whenever we say the point charge is placed at the surface, it means, if we consider the point charge as a sphere, half of the sphere is inside and half of the sphere is outside. So if I ask you what is the electric flux through this sphere, so we can say Q by 2 epsilon. Because charge enclosed is only Q by 2. Half of the charge is outside and half the charge is inside. So this is the way in which we have to assume and understand whenever we are asked a question in which point charge is placed at a point on the surface. Now there is another aspect. If the surface is continuous around it, so it's okay. This logic you can always apply. But if that point is out at the corner, if that point is corner, then we have to see the half of the sphere will not be enclosed. So in that case, the sphere enclosed can be different. For example, I am going to take this question. So this is a hemisphere, hollow hemisphere, and I am placing point charge here. And my question is, what is the electric flux through, I am placing point charge at this corner of the boundary. So at the corner of the boundary. So again, if I am applying this logic, my question is, what is the electric flux through this hemisphere due to this point charge? So what I am doing here, I am again making a sphere. So this is the sphere, you say this point charge is sphere. So Q is lying on this. So now you can see, if I am closing it with some imaginary boundary. So with this boundary, I am closing it with some imaginary boundary. This is a plane surface. So I am making a closed hemisphere, hollow hemisphere. So you can say what part of this sphere is enclosed by this system. So it is quite 1/4. Because if it was this, half was there, now half of half. So this is 1/4. This reason is 1/4 of the whole sphere. So what charge is enclosed inside is 1/4 of this charge. So if I ask you what is the flux with this hemisphere, my answer is going to be Q by 4 epsilon. I hope it should be clear to you. So you have to be alert about 2 points. If a point charge is placed at the surface, okay. So within the surface, the electric flux will be Q by 2 epsilon. And if it is lying at the corner, then you will have to see what part is cut from that sphere. And here we are having so many popular problems whenever we are placing at the corner. For example, if I am taking a cube and then I am asking you this question. If I am placing a point charge at the corner of a cube and asking you this question. So this is a cube. So this is a cube, say, and I am placing a point charge here at one of the coordinates. If I am naming it A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Okay. So if I ask you, what is the electric flux through the cube by this point charge? Okay. So what I will do here, see, I will create a sphere around it. So I have created a sphere. So you can say what part of this sphere is lying inside this cube. So every point charge I will treat as a small sphere, and I will see what part of that sphere is inside the given body. So in this body, this is the part that is lying inside this plane in the input, and this is the thing. So you can see a similar reason if I talk of the total 8, in fact 1/8 of this sphere will be cut by this cube. You can clearly see 1/8 of this sphere, because this point is lying on the corner and I am making this sphere. So 1/8 of this sphere is being cut by this cube. How this you can visualize. If you are not able to visualize, we can do it by another method also. We can think about placing another cube over it. So one similar cube I have placed over it. Now you can tell me the earlier 1/8 of the sphere was enclosed inside. Now if I place another cube over, so 1/4 is there, 1/4 inside and 1/4 this side. So total half, and again 1/4 this side and 1/4 this side. So total complete. So we can do one thing to visualize it more geometrically. We can think of 8 cubes around this point charge, and all the cubes are symmetrical around this point charge, one over and one this side, one this side. Again 4 like this, 2 here and 2 here. So total 8 cube I can form, and it will be symmetrically closed by all the 8 cubes. So total flux through all the cubes will be, for the larger cube it will be the inside. So total flux through all the cubes will be Q epsilon, and symmetrically it will be divided in 8 parts. So Q8 epsilon. But if I can visualize the sphere here at the corner, I can clearly say 1/8 of the sphere lies inside this cube. So the flux through this cube is going to be what? Q8 epsilon. So if the point charge is placed at the corner or at surface, then this is the way in which we can visualize. In fact, symmetry has got a very big role in calculation of flux. So we are going to more cases, and we are going to see how we can calculate flux and how we are going to use the symmetry. So one of the case I am going to take up, say arbitrary shape of jug is there, and I have placed it inverted like this. This is arbitrary shape of jug. You may find this shape to be weird, but it's like this. And this is lying on the plane surface. And on the plane surface, I am placing a point charge. Here I am placing a point charge. And my question is, what is the flux through this surface? Okay. So what I am doing here, I am assuming a similar jug placed inside. If I am placing a similar jug below this, so with the symmetry I can say the flux through this is phi. This is also phi. So what is the total flux through the combination of both the jugs? Is going to be 2 phi. So 2 phi should be equal to what? Now whatever charge is there, it is not inside, it is outside this closed surface. So this is going to be 0. So my answer is what? Phi is equal to what? 0 by 2. So answer is 0. 0 by 2 is 0. So flux is 0. So if through any surface here I am asked about the flux, what should be the first line of thinking? I should think using similar surface which are symmetrical to the given point charge. Can I make a closed surface? If I can make a closed surface, I can calculate flux there. So obviously it cannot be done everywhere and everything, but obviously there are certain popular aspects of this calculation, which whenever will be there, you have to imagine and solve it. So there are some very popular aspects of this aspect. I am moving one by one towards that. So my next question is here, and it's a very popular problem. If you might have studied Gauss law anywhere, you might get through this question. In fact, it's a very popular problem, an easy one also. Easy one just because we have visualized it in many times, so it's easy one. Many people may say it's an easy one, but fundamentally it's not very easy. But when we learn, it becomes easier. So it's like this. So what I'm taking here, I'm going to take up a square plate and at distance L by 2 from the center of the square plate, so the distance is L by 2, I'm placing a point charge. So my question is, what is the electric flux through this square plate? So what I will do here, I will imagine, can I use similar plate to make a closed surface around this point charge? So whenever I am asked about the electric flux through a surface by point charge, you have to think like this. Can I use similar surface